Hey, Foot Clan.
Oh, I thought you were talking to me.
I just want to let them know that the Ultimate Draft Kit will be available for pre-sale on Super Bowl Sunday.
What?
On Super Bowl Sunday. UltimateDraftKit.com.
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast, coming to you from Draft.com Studios with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
Welcome in. That's my volume level, but I'm better. I've got a voice. Mike, how you doing?
No, I'm good, man. Good. Thanks for asking.
Jay Grizz is here again. If you want to know the answer, and yes, I just squeaked a little bit. If you want to know the answer to why we record Fantasy Football Podcast all year round, look no further than that trade last night. Or I guess that's 2 nights ago when you're listening to this.
I've not gone to sleep. It was that exciting for me.
So we're going to spend a decent amount of time today talking through the Alex Smith to Washington trade. Big time.
Fantastic.
Reverberations throughout the NFL, especially for fantasy in each of the cities, in Kansas City and Washington, and then wherever Kirk Cousins ends up, which will not be Washington. Oh, that's the rope-a-dope right there. They sign him to a long-term deal. They double down. 2 quarterbacks.
They hate him that much that they will franchise him
to bench him. Oh, $34 million for the bench. Sign me up. Can't get CTE from the bench.
The signing, or I should say the trade of Alex Smith to Washington, he could not have possibly gone to a better spot for the narrative in the NFL of tracking Kirk Cousins. Because Washington, while I think all of us felt like it was a low, a much lower probability that Kirk Cousins ends up back there. Maybe they franchise him a ridiculous 3rd time, or he signs a long-term deal there. We thought it was a low probability, but it could still have happened. That's gone now. Now you have, in my opinion, maybe Drew Brees is up there too, but at least in recent memory, the best free agent quarterback. And look, Peyton Manning, I'll include him in there, but everyone knew when Peyton Manning was a free agent, you had 2 to 3 years of Peyton Manning. You have Kirk Cousins.
He's 29.
29. You're talking.
Well, for context, Alex Smith is 34 and just signed a 4-year deal with Washington.
Yeah, so he's under contract for 5 years.
Right. And Kirk Cousins is 5 years younger.
Tom Brady's 40.
Right.
If Kirk Cousins has at least 7 to 8 great years of NFL football in him.
Maybe.
And he is on.
We'll see.
Yeah, I said, this is my opinion.
Sure.
A franchise quarterback is available in free agency. This does not happen.
We will talk much more about it. I want to welcome everybody into the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. You can find us on the web, thefantasyfootballers.com. The Twitter is @theFFBallers. The community, where you can find Foot Clan leagues, which means you can join leagues with listeners of the show that are actually dedicated and committed and won't ruin your league. You can find that at jointhefoot.com. You get access to that. And
changing scoring systems halfway through the year.
Yeah, you don't get any of that.
Get out of here.
Because these people know how to play. And it's more fun and more challenging, and that's what makes a league, and that's what we try to do. We try to bring you a show that is entertaining, that is educational, that helps equip you to win your league and enjoy being in your league and enjoy running your league. All of those pieces, they come into play on the show. You can find us on iTunes. You can leave a review.
Apple Podcasts.
Yeah, you can leave us a review on the Apple Podcast app. Subscribe over there. And then we're pretty much everywhere else you could listen to a podcast. Spotify, iHeartRadio. We are on the YouTube.
We are.
We are. All right, I want to get into this quick question, and then we'll circle back to the Alex Smith news. We'll talk about the fantasy implications. Jason's still on vacation, by the way.
Have we announced what else is on this show?
No. But people that listen to Tuesday's show know.
All right.
So what's on today's show, Mike?
We're looking back at the rookies. Tuesday's show, we took a look at quarterbacks and running backs. So we're going to look at rookies. How did they perform? project a little bit, talk about coming into the year, our process of what we thought of these guys and how that played out. So we will be talking about that as well, but that's not nearly as exciting right now as the Kirk Cousins news.
No, and I think everybody wants to hear our take.
I call it the Kirk Cousins news.
Yes,
not the
you
Alex
do.
Smith
I noticed
news.
that. Maybe that's appropriate. We'll see. I love this quick question, though. This is a great one. This one comes in off of Twitter. If you listen to the show over the past couple of weeks, we got into the truth about every position, the players, where they finished, and what their consistency levels were. And this question comes in off of Twitter. It says, from the wide receiver and running back truth shows, who do you want to give a pass to? Okay, so there were players that ended up with bad consistency rankings. Who would you give a pass to?
I'll jump in here. I'm giving my pass. I'm giving it to Mike Evans. And this is because the truth is about consistency, like Andy said. And Mike Evans was actually consistent. He only busted for your team, according to our metrics, about 20% of the time, and that's extremely low.
He was
just
consistently not as good as last year.
Yes,
but not a consistent bust. Brooks is nodding. That's what he was, right? He was a stair step down.
Absolutely. But to me, people are far more likely to swing the pendulum based on the 0% of great games for Mike Evans instead of looking and saying, wow, this guy was actually very consistent.
Is that right? 0%?
Yes. That's why people –
no week winning weeks. No top 3 performances.
Exactly. That's why people think that Mike Evans was bad for fantasy football when not everyone is Antonio Brown. Not everyone is DeAndre Hopkins. You may have thought you were getting that in Mike Evans. You didn't. And you aren't going to get that.
No, and that was why, despite opposition from many, we were hesitant to put him in the pantheon of
right.
Odell Beckham Jr. and Julio Jones and Antonio Brown.
I don't think he is that. I think he's great.
Right.
I don't think he is. He's not a top tier guy, but he's going to drop in drafts yet again because he kind of does this, right? After his rookie season, everyone loved him. Then his touchdowns.
Well, he was double-digit touchdowns. Then he wasn't.
And then he was again, and now he wasn't. So Mike Evans back the second top of the third? Absolutely. I'm loving that.
Maybe it's something with being a Tampa Bay Buccaneer because you had the back and forth of Doug Martin. Now you have the back and forth of Mike Evans.
Perhaps.
Maybe you're not allowed to succeed in successive years. Something to look into, Mike.
We need a study.
I'm going with a player that had 0% great games as well. And I had to think a while to make sure I wanted to do this. But I'm going to give my pass to Jay Ajayi because we expected a lot from him, but he changed teams. He moved from an established role to establishing a new role on a new franchise. Unexpected quarterback change took place in Philadelphia. There were a lot of variables. One of the ones that I want to bring up again that we brought up in the Truth Show, he never had a red zone carry inside the 7 this year. None.
Ooh, that's the money zone.
That's where you want to be. That's that 10 zone type of carry. He had a ton of them last year when he was great with Miami. And now you have a situation with LeGarrette Blount. I don't think they knew what they wanted to do in that backfield. I don't think Sproles will come back. I don't think Blount will be back. Ajayi is going to find his way there, and he was the number 33 in terms of consistency. That's not good.
No.
But I'm going to give him a pass through the change of teams. And I want to give an honorable mention to T.Y. Hilton.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's a legit
quarterback situation.
Yeah, he wasn't going to be consistent with Jacoby Brissett, that offensive line, no other weapons. Follow-up. Who's going to get a pass from the fantasy community that doesn't deserve it?
The guy that I think will get a pass from the fantasy community because I think he will get a pass forever. I mean, this guy he took his hall pass. He went down to the laminators. And he made sure that no one can ever tear this thing up because of his draft stock and his college production. That's Amari Cooper. I think people will still be guns blazing to draft Amari Cooper.
He's so young.
This is not disparaging of Amari Cooper. I think that he can improve. We'll see what the Raiders are going to do. Will Michael Crabtree, in fact, be released as the rumors stated?
You're already making the case for him.
Yeah.
He's sounding great. Young, Crabtree's gone.
Just
Gruden's in?
Oh, you've talked me out of it right there.
Oh, well, you and Gruden. You make that grimace towards Gruden every day.
Yeah. Gruden, don't approve of what you're doing, my friend.
All right, look, C.J. Anderson. I could see him getting a pass, end of the year strong.
Yes.
Didn't have a quarterback. I could see Jordy Nelson getting a pass. No Aaron Rodgers. His numbers plummeted without him. Maybe he gets a pass and people give him another shot as a higher draft pick. I don't know. I don't know if he's deserving of that.
I would, if Jordy's going to slip, similar to Mike Evans, I will be scooping him up.
All right, can we circle back? I'm not even going to do the
Yes.
news drop. I'm going to go with this one.
Oh.
Breaking news.
It's January, Mike, and we have a monster trade.
Whee!
Alex Smith, traded from the Chiefs to the Redskins, was traded for Kendall Fuller, who you said you called it the Kirk Cousins trade. We might be calling it the Kendall Fuller trade soon.
Yes.
I mean, this kid is great, 22-year-old cornerback, also got a third-round pick. And from a high level, this is called we screwed up.
For Washington, is saying that?
We screwed up on signing Kirk Cousins to a long-term deal when we could afford it. Now here we are. So Alex Smith lands in Washington, signs a 4-year, $94 million extension, $71 million guaranteed. Alex Smith didn't have a bad day.
No.
Alex Smith got traded to a situation where he's the locked and loaded starter, which for me as a dynasty owner of Alex Smith, that made me happy. You got an extension done with the player. Now he goes to an offense. Now, I don't know if Alex Smith is better in Washington, but at least I know he's a starter as a dynasty owner of Alex Smith once they paid him this money.
So what did you think of the overall? Let's start with just the trade. Do you think Washington made a good move here, or how are you evaluating this trade?
Well, I mean, it's better than letting Kirk Cousins go and starting over in the draft. In this NFL, you need a quarterback. You need an opportunity. I like Alex Smith. In terms of the trade, they got hosed.
All right.
I mean, is that your perspective?
Yes. I feel like they got fully hosed.
So tell me more about, like, what is the possible outcome for them? What's the best case scenario for Washington?
The best case scenario is, my goodness, they have to. You're giving up a young emerging corner in Kendall Fuller and a third-round pick. I don't know. I don't know what the best case scenario, because here's the thing. I like Kirk Cousins more than Alex Smith moving forward. But if you want to make the argument to me that they're the same tier of quarterback, I'm not going to argue. If some people say, well, I have Alex Smith slightly better quarterback than Kirk Cousins, okay. But the problem here is Alex Smith played this was his career year.
26 passing touchdowns, 4,000 passing yards.
And he played 15 games. So if you give him his pace, he would have been at about 4,300 yards, maybe 28 touchdowns. Kirk Cousins as a starter has never thrown for fewer than 4,000 yards. Kirk Cousins is a middle 60% completion passer. So he's 5 years younger.
To me, and I don't want to oversimplify this trade when we talk about the fantasy implications. There are confusing aspects to it, right? Like Jay Gruden, it was publicized this offseason that he kind of had to almost argue with Kirk Cousins in terms of throwing the deep ball.
Yeah, so they go get Alex Smith.
Get Alex Smith. Now, Alex Smith was the most accurate deep ball thrower in the NFL this year, but that's not the same thing as being prone to throw the deep ball, liking throwing the deep ball. And look, when I look at Alex Smith and I project Alex Smith, here's what I see. I see a downgrade in offensive mind as a coach. I think Andy Reid's a better coach than Jay Gruden. Do you agree?
Agreed.
I see a downgrade in terms of weapons. I think Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill and Kareem Hunt are better than Josh Doxson, Jamison Crowder, Jordan Reed when he's on the field, maybe not, and Chris Thompson. Would you agree with that?
I agree that it's a downtick, yes, but I don't think it's a big, huge step.
Well, we saw what happened to Kirk Cousins' numbers last year.
Yes.
when they lost Garcon, Deshaun Jackson, no Jordan Reed. All I'm saying is I don't see those two pieces. Now you go to an NFC East. They got some decent secondaries in the NFC East. I don't think Alex Smith is going to replicate last year.
I don't either.
I would put it,
Well, considering the past 5 years, he's averaged under 3,400 yards and 17 passing touchdowns.
There you go. And so then you start talking about the weapons in Washington. Who gets the uptick? I mean, Chris Thompson, Jordan Reed, Jamison Crowder, short yardage guys versus Josh Doxson. I don't think Josh Doxson, I'm going to move him at much from where I would have had him last year. But I don't think I'm moving him up.
The Washington skill players are not really moving for me. I think Alex Smith can provide fantasy value to those guys the way that Kirk Cousins.
I think you
That's
would
what
have,
I'm saying. They're about the same tier.
I think you would have moved Josh Doxson up naturally, regardless of the quarterback, just being more established, being
a possible breakout.
Right, being a third-year guy now. Now you talk about the other side. This was, Pat Mahomes' day as well. And Kansas City fans, I haven't met one that's unhappy. Have you?
Yeah, I have not.
It's amazing because Alex Smith has the best year of his career. This team
goes
back to the playoffs.
Not a rookie, but a guy with zero experience.
And everybody's happy. Everybody's thrilled. How unappreciated is Alex Smith in this world? By everybody but the Washington Redskins.
He is so unappreciated that next year, Washington will draft a quarterback in the first round.
Oh, my gosh.
It will the cycle will continue.
You mean when he puts up 20 touchdowns and like 8 interceptions and
it's
3,500 yards? So now Pat Mahomes takes over. And I posted this poll on Twitter a couple days ago. We talked about it on the Tuesday show. T.Y. Hilton or Tyreek Hill. And we talked about not knowing, what was going to happen with Alex Smith. Well, now, look, from a fantasy perspective, it's great. Clarity on Pat Mahomes, clarity on Alex Smith. Now we wait for Kirk Cousins, but we know he's moving on. For Pat Mahomes, I want to know where you project Pat Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, and Travis Kelce in comparison to where they, not Mahomes hadn't been projected, but where you would have seen, the rapport between Smith and Kelce was great. Tyreek Hill, Brooks walked in this morning. He asked me, he said, out of the last 13 touchdowns scored by Tyreek Hill, how many were 30-plus yard plays?
Oh.
Do you know the answer to that question?
I do not know.
What do you think?
Is Brooks dropping hot stats on you?
This is his 13 receiving touchdowns.
13 receiving. Yeah, we're not going to count obviously the rushing, but receiving touchdown. He has 13 in his career. How many are 30-plus yard touchdowns?
I'm going to go 8.
Okay. What did I guess, Brooks? I guessed 10.
You guessed 11, and it is 10.
It's 10.
Woo!
All 7 receiving touchdowns last year were 30,
That's
30 or
who
more.
he is.
Woo!
And if you watch Pat Mahomes, if there's one thing Pat Mahomes can do, it's throw the ball
he can throw
very,
it
very far.
Certainly.
Now, will he be accurate?
That's the bigger question.
Will he make the right read and see, Tyreek Hill? Those things we don't know. But I'm not really changing Tyreek Hill's projection. I'm not going to shoot it through the roof just because I think Pat Mahomes is going to be a gunslinger.
I would bump him slightly down.
You would?
Yeah.
Because of just the unknown.
Yes, certainly the unknown and your risk. There's definitely going to be risk built into drafting Tyreek Hill, who...
Same with Kelce?
Yes.
You bump him down?
I think there's slightly less risk just because Kelce is an established, dominant player. But Hill, let's say Alex Smith is still the Chiefs quarterback, coming into the draft season, Tyreek Hill is likely drafted as what? At least a top 10 wide receiver.
Yeah.
And probably a top 7.
I'll say this now. I would still take Tyreek Hill and what I've seen of Tyreek Hill and believe about Tyreek Hill and the evolution of Tyreek Hill. I would take that player over T.Y. Hilton with Andrew Luck back.
Okay.
I would answer
With
that
Pat
question.
Mahomes?
Even with Pat Mahomes, I would take Tyreek Hill.
I would take it's for sure T.Y. Hilton now for me.
Let me ask you this, though. We saw Andy Reid forget about Kareem Hunt. Is Andy Reid going to be able to resist the urge to forget about his running back with Pat Mahomes in the backfield, running around, extending plays? Is this a bad thing? Is this a good thing for a Kareem Hunt owner? We talked about him and Lev Bell yesterday. There was a listener question. What do you see for Kareem Hunt?
If anything, maybe a slot down. I don't change things.
That's how I lean. I think if you mix in the quarterback change.
Kareem Hunt forced the most broken tackles of any running back.
Hey, I'm not saying it's not an indictment on his skill. It's just saying if you mix in the depth chart issues that they had at running back this year with Mahomes coming in, I can't. For the same reason that you moved Tyreek Hill down a little bit, I'd have to move Kareem Hunt down.
That's fair.
And we've seen rookie running backs take a step back before. And it doesn't mean he's not a great player, but some of that early success that you have.
Hopefully he took his step back in the middle of the season.
Well, he did. And then he came back out of it. So we'll talk about Kirk Cousins' possible destinations in a second here.
Hey, before we jump into talking about Kirk Cousins, I want to tell you that today's show is brought to you by Control GX, the first grade-reducing shampoo from just
all
for
fantasy
men.
owners need this because you apparently January through December you
all
can be
months
anxious
all
about
months
fantasy
of the
football.
year. Just for Men helps men look their best so they can celebrate who they are, what they achieve, and how they feel. They relentlessly innovate and deliver smart hair care technology. Did you realize you can have hair care technology, Foot Clan? Because this is sensational. Guys, you want to get rid of some of this gray? They make it easy with Control GX. Shampoo your hair. That's it. Shampoo in, rinse out.
That
you
sounds
move on.
easy.
It is. It's incredibly easy. Most guys get the results they want in about 2 weeks. It's gradual. So you're going to be able to get the look that you want because when you look as good as you feel, every date night, every meeting, every guy's night out will be something to look forward to. And right now you can get 25% off Control GX using the code FOOTBALLERS at ControlGX.com. Go to ControlGX.com, use the code FOOTBALLERS. You're going to get 25% off. Easy. Shampoo in.
That's it. All right.
Rinse out.
Kirk Cousins.
Yeah!
I could probably name 9 different places he could go.
Yes.
Let's do it.
That's why this is so exciting.
Let's name the potential places for Kirk Cousins. Ready? Arizona, Denver, Minnesota, the Jets. You could say the Giants.
The Giants. Absolutely you can.
Where else?
Hold on. I'm trying for this.
Those were just top of the head.
For this exercise.
The Browns?
I need an actual Buffalo. Let's.
I've heard people say Tampa Bay, which I think is outlandish and not
not
possible.
Tampa Bay. But you know what's not outlandish? Cincinnati. Maybe they cut Andy Dalton and they go to Kirk Cousins. Just there are so many teams without a franchise. Jacksonville. We had a water bet which you apparently already lost.
I felt what?
Well,
no, I'm holding on to it because you never.
I'm not dousing you yet. The water bet was will Blake Bortles be the starter?
Be a starter.
Yeah, be a starter, and then
and then like 3 hours later they say they're going to keep him and he'll be the starter. That's not a good trend.
I mean, Miami.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Miami's on the list too. So handicap it for me. Because people, look, we don't know where he's going, first of all.
Did we say – you said Denver, right?
Yeah. Second of all, people want predictions. Come on.
Oh, I'm happy to give mine.
Yeah, I mean, no, he's not going to the Bears.
I thought
Jay
Grizz loved him.
Trubisky's
Some
young.
risky
Come
Mitch
on.
Trubisky.
Risky Mitch.
Nobody beats – apparently we have brought Nobody Beats Mitch to the masses. And Twitter was very grateful. If you have not checked it out, you got to look up Nobody Beats Mitch.
I would recommend not doing that.
Nobody Beats Mitch.
Don't check it out. So handicap it.
All right.
Let's do it this way. And Brooks, you're participating, so get your brain going. I guess just give me your favorite.
All right.
Let's do it that way. I was going to say top 3, but
I'm going to go top 2.
Okay, top 2. Let's do that.
Because I think there are 2 teams that are head and shoulders above everyone.
Yes.
Because Kirk Cousins, he's come out and he said, which rightfully so, he said, yes, money will be a factor. I mean,
he's also said it won't be the only factor.
And that's exactly it. He wants to win.
Yes.
The top 2 destinations for me, Minnesota, Denver. I think it is probably, I'm going to go 50-50.
That's how you sit.
Yes.
I don't agree with Minnesota.
See, I would be shocked if it's not one of those 2 teams. Shocked.
Okay. I look, I'm going to go Denver for sure. Denver is one of those 2 for me. We've seen this before. They have an established defense. They could easily bounce back on that side of the ball.
You put Kirk Cousins on that team, they're back in the playoffs.
Absolutely. And so I'll put Denver out there. I don't think Minnesota. And I don't think Minnesota because I believe that they believe they can get better value re-signing one of their guys and replicating than they would. I mean, the amount of money that Kirk Cousins is going to cost, I don't see that as a fit for Minnesota. I'm going to actually throw – it's close between like the Jets and the Cardinals. I'm going to put the Cardinals in there. I think it's Denver, Arizona. Those are my favorite two. Brooks, I want you to weigh in since we know Jay Grizz is just going to say the Bears twice.
I'm with you guys on Denver, and I was going to pick the Jets as the other one.
There you go.
You guys really think the Jets have a chance?
I think they do. I think they're willing to spend that money.
But if he said, okay, it's important that I win, what are the alluring pieces of the New York Jets offense? Robbie Anderson, their best wide receiver, who is going to be suspended?
No, there's not much alluring there.
That's why I think it's
but you
not
don't
the
have the
Jets.
history of losing that the Browns have.
Oh, I don't think
So the Browns are out of contention to me.
But the Browns actually have pieces.
Now, to break some more news here, Alex Smith obviously was traded to the Redskins. There were reports today by Ian Rappaport that the Browns and Cardinals were interested in trading for Alex Smith. It's likely that you had similar deal there for the Browns, and he didn't want to go there. He had already kind of scoffed at going to, he wants to be on a winning team, or at least a team that has a chance to win. So we all think Denver's in contention.
I'll point this out. I'm looking at Spotrac.com right now, looking at salary cap. Who has space? The 7th most space? Minnesota. They have salary cap space, and if you think that Kirk Cousins is a franchise quarterback, I don't care what it costs.
I don't know if they think that.
Yeah,
but maybe. We'll see.
I don't know.
All right.
I did see a lot of Minnesota beat reporters and people who cover the team who were very, very excited right away
for
that
sure.
Kirk Cousins was available.
All right, Super Bowl predictions right now. Jason decided to submit one, and we got it for you. Jason said
it's weird because he just submitted churro, cinnamon, and sugar.
Yeah. Well, he's in Disneyland.
That's
if you
his
didn't
projection.
know, he is eating at any moment in time. If you snap your fingers, he's eating a churro.
I went 65% on Tuesday. I'm bumping that. I'm going 80.
You mean the percentage chance
Yes.
that right this moment he's eating a churro?
Yes.
Is he in Disneyland? Yes. There you go.
Should we call him right now?
On the show? That's Brooks, are you able to do that?
I'm doing it right now.
You're just going to do it on your
This has never
You're
been
literally
done.
pulling yourself
I'm
on
literally
that.
going to try and call him on speakerphone and see if he's eating a
No, it's
churro.
been done once before. Like,
Oh, yeah. Didn't you
we
guys-
did that to you, but you knew it was coming.
Yeah, Jason does not know it's coming.
So I'll give you
This is incredible radio. What's
You got it
happening
on
right now.
speakerphone?
Can you guys hear this?
Yeah, I can hear it.
All right.
28-24 Patriots. That's his prediction. What are you going to ask him?
If he's eating a churro.
Oh, okay.
Hey, come on, answer the phone, Jason.
He's probably eating a churro right now, and he can't. Yeah, this was a wait.
No, that was it.
That's
it?
it?
It was going to go to voicemail.
Oh man.
Which confirms.
Nice job, Mike.
Confirms. Jason Moore was eating a churro.
Yep, it's confirmed. All right, Mike, your Super Bowl prediction. Give me a score.
Jason has a 28-24 Patriots. I think that is very fair, but I don't want to go exactly with Jason, so I'm going to go 28-20 Patriots.
Okay. All right. 31-28 Patriots. Brooks,
Ooh.
do you want to weigh in?
24-21 Patriots.
All right. Eagles putting on their dog masks. They're underdogs.
I love the dog
Let's get into
mask.
the rookie review.
Rookie Review.
You know, Mike and I were in the car yesterday heading to lunch, and I was talking about this. The past couple of years, if you were a dynasty player and you invested in wide receiver, you were
Not kind of.
you were very
Yes.
unhappy.
Very, very unhappy considering this past year it was Corey Davis, Mike Williams, John Ross. That was the big three.
Zay Jones.
Yeah, and then last year you're talking – was that last year? That was the Josh Doxson year, right?
Treadwell.
Yeah.
On my dynasty
Oh,
This was fresh off of, like, we had really impressive rookie years many years ago.
Yes.
And now you sit here and you're staring down Saquon Barkley. And last year, Leonard Fournette, Christian McCaffrey.
that's why you're so upset.
Well, yeah. I'd be upset.
It can still absolutely pan out. I love Corey Davis moving forward. I still have belief in Josh Doxson. Corey Coleman's not in a
Great situation.
situation.
No, I had a chance to get him in Dynasty the other day. I didn't do it.
And Mike Williams, again, he as well. What's his ceiling, knowing that Keenan Allen's the alpha dog? Are they going to bring back Tyrell Williams? I guess we're going to talk about Mike Williams in just a little bit. But while these guys can still pan out, you're seeing instant success.
So is
and
the
huge
Dynasty
impact.
template changing? And should it change? Or do you just look at this as the ebbs and flows of the NFL draft?
I'm going
and
ebbs and flows.
Because the principle, for those that don't play Dynasty or those that are just getting into Dynasty, the principle is shelf life with your draft picks, right? A wide receiver has a longer shelf life in the NFL. If you had been a Dynasty player that ended up with a Julio Jones, that ended up with, the Odell Beckham Jr., who is still arguably the number one Dynasty startup pick, if you have one of those guys, you've got him for a long time. But right now you're staring down, wow, I went Corey Davis over Leonard Fournette.
Yeah, it feels bad.
And Corey Davis is the first wideout off the board. He's the fifth pick. His consistency rank was 99. Now, he was my pick on yesterday's show to break out in year 2 out of the rookie crop. Now, he's a good player. I think he's a good player. It's just going to come down to opportunity. And where do you see – I've already weighed in. Where do you see him next year?
I see Corey Davis next year. I'm going to say a middle wide receiver 2 off the top of my head. You had week 1 with a bang, 10 targets immediately for Corey Davis, 6 for 69. He got hurt.
Yep.
And then but 13 games, including the playoffs, he only had 5 or more receptions 3 times. And I think it was also a huge indictment of Marcus Mariota.
It really was. I was saying, they're connected.
He was so bad.
He was not good. Look, Corey Davis averaged 5.8 yards per target last year on 65 targets. That's third worst in the league.
Yeah, I feel
for
like
a player that
I feel like I could at least get 6 per target.
Probably not. Probably
Well,
not. But you're a 2 per target.
If I get 1 reception
How
for
many
7
yards is it if you turn around immediately on the snap?
Let's say if I get 1 reception for 7 yards and then my body is split into 2 pieces, 7.
Yeah.
I did it.
You did it one time. Your career average. They'll read it at your funeral. Career average of 7. I'll bring it up for you if that happens.
Thank you.
But no, it's an indictment on Mariota. It was an indictment on that line. We saw what happened to DeMarco Murray. And look, there's a reason a playoff team lost their head coach. So it goes beyond Corey Davis. But I think you saw him flash in the playoffs. And you have a new offensive coordinator.
He flashed the trash in the playoffs.
You're saying the garbage time?
Oh, he was the
well,
garbage
not his
man.
first one-handed back of the end zone.
Oh,
I'm just saying you see the skill. But are you going to see the fantasy relevance? And I think you will. I think you'll see fantasy relevance. You didn't see that this past year. He had no great games. He had 1 good game. That's it.
His draft stock is going to be very interesting.
Mike Williams, next wide receiver off the board, 7th pick in the NFL draft, goes to a team now in a situation with Keenan Allen. He's not the alpha. He won't be the alpha while Phillip Rivers is the quarterback. You agree?
Completely agree.
10 games, he caught 11 balls.
Yeah, you had 23 targets for Mike Williams, and 8 of those came in 1 game. So there's 1 game where all of a sudden he's getting a huge amount of targets. Other than that, 3 or fewer in every one of the games.
Now he was obviously he was hurt
Yes,
for the majority of the
year. He
year.
had the herniated disc in training camp. I was shocked that he even played this year. I anticipated him being shut down. The question for him is Tyrell Williams, Tyrell the Gazelle, is a restricted free agent.
Yeah.
Will they bring him back? He's been very good for the Chargers. Antonio Gates, will he retire? He's an unrestricted free agent. Will they bring him back or will they move to the Hunter Henry era? So there's a lot up in the air that needs to shake out before we can get a good sense of projecting for Mike Williams.
I overall like Mike Williams.
Do you?
Yeah, I do. And I think he will be a relevant player.
What do you feel like Mike Williams' ceiling is, though?
Next year?
Yeah.
Or just for his career?
Just his career. Do you think Mike Williams can be a 1, or is he just kind of a compliment who has huge touchdown upside because he's a gigantic person?
I think he could be a 1. I think he could be a 1 if that's the role.
They drafted him clearly thinking he could be a 1.
I do. I mean, if you asked me what I think next year his ceiling is, I think it's 55 catches.
Okay.
I'm talking ceiling, right? I think it's 55 to 60 catches.
55?
7-8 touchdowns if everything goes the right way.
So
that'd be a nice sophomore year. That would have us all talking about him for the future.
How much of Keenan Allen's uncertainty with his health led to Mike Williams being drafted by the Chargers where they took
you're
him?
saying from their motivation?
Yes.
A good portion.
Yeah, I'm going 90-something.
Yeah, it was nice to see him come back and, perform.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the next wide receiver that went off the board. Or, Mike, are you willing to talk about John Ross?
I'm willing to talk about it. This was such a baffling pick by the Cincinnati Bengals. John Ross, undersized, fastest man at the combine. I think he can fit into to an NFL team and be an asset. But to go to the Bengals, where just historically Marvin Lewis and co. does not utilize a rookie. You saw them grab Tyler Boyd and not use him. Jeremy Hill, you've seen it at the running back position. Jeremy Hill didn't get his shot until Gio Bernard went down. Gio Bernard didn't really get his shot because Ben Jarvis Green-Ellis was toting the ball for 2.5 a carry, and we can't get Gio on the field. Then we saw it again with Mixon. It took injuries and things to get him on the field. They didn't use John Ross at all. He finished with negative fantasy points on the year. Negative points. How is that even possible for a top 10 pick in the NFL draft?
You also have a situation now where Brandon LaFell's still under contract.
Is he?
Until 2019. He's under contract for one more year.
Oh, yeah, but Brandon LaFell so he would count as $4 million against the cap, but they can cut him for 0.
Okay.
So if they want to move on,
because they saw so much from John Ross that made them just excited to move on.
So
look, AJ Green's the alpha. Now Tyler Eifert won't be back, but that's irrelevant.
Yeah, I can agree.
And you have 2 of the top 5 yard after catch running backs in football with Mixon and Gio Bernard. You asked me the question about Mike Williams. What's the ceiling for John Ross next year?
Not usable for fantasy.
Okay. Let's move on then.
John Ross played 17 snaps. Your number 1 pick, you can't figure out how to get him on the field because he fumbled. You got to teach him a lesson.
Well, and to defend.
Oh, please do.
The Bengals.
Please. Please.
There was an undisclosed injury for John Ross.
Yeah, that's true.
And so there was a struggle for he felt like he needed to be on the field, but then he wasn't good on the field. We'll see what happens. Next year he gets a clean slate from me, but with the built-in knowledge that, look, you still have Tyler Boyd, you still have Brandon LaFell, you still have AJ Green, and you don't even know who the quarterback is. So let's move on. Zay Jones. You dropped a hot stat about Zay Jones.
Yeah, I got to find him in my notes. Zay Jones received a very healthy 74 targets.
I was going to say, we talk all about talent and opportunity. I don't know if he just had opportunity, and that was the only part that he had, because you had problems.
Yeah, here's the numbers. 74 targets for Zay Jones.
Nice.
27 receptions. That's a 36.5% catch rate. And
how many targets?
74.
Okay, I want to give people perspective. Juju Smith-Schuster had 80 targets, okay? So they had basically the same. How many receptions did Zay Jones have?
27.
Do you know how many Juju had?
No.
58.
And I wanted to give some
context. You could have 2 Zay Joneses.
Because you're saying, well, that's Ben Roethlisberger throwing the ball. Here's his teammates. Jordan Matthews had 25 receptions, so 2 fewer, on 36 targets. Kelvin Benjamin had a 59.3% catch rate in Buffalo. Andre Holmes had a 59.1% catch rate. So these other guys were managing to catch the ball.
What you don't know about Zay
74
Jones
to
is he
27.
has T-Rex arms.
It was baffling. Zay Jones,
It's hard to project him because Benjamin, the trade happened in the middle of the year. Tyrod Taylor, you don't know if he'll be back to Buffalo.
I do know. He's not coming back.
Yeah, and you don't know if you would have wanted him back anyway with those numbers. So you don't know the quarterback situation. You don't know the role. And I'd be pretty off of Zay Jones here on out.
I think
because he's under contract there and he didn't perform. He had opportunity.
I think that the arrow will go up for Zay Jones. He was a good enough wide receiver in college. He's a phenomenal athlete.
It was not an efficient year.
The numbers are baffling for Zay Jones.
Curtis Samuel was a second-round pick. 8th pick in the second round by Carolina, supposed to come in and help nullify the loss of Ted Ginn, I think. And 15 receptions on 26 targets.
Yeah.
What's the real upside of Curtis Samuel over there?
So he only played 9 games. He's incredibly fast, 4.31 40, which the Panthers need. They need that speed. He had 3 games over 50% of snaps, and in those games he received 5 or more targets. His final 2 games, he had a line of 3 for 23 against Atlanta and then 5 for 45 against Miami. I think Curtis Samuel is interesting because who's catching the ball for Carolina? Russell Shepard?
It's all Christian McCaffrey. They're just going to use him as their full-time wide receiver and running back.
I mean, you traded your perceived number 1 in Kelvin Benjamin, so Devin Funchess has to fill that role. But they need...
Who did you say, Kalen Clay?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a free agent too.
Yeah, that's what I mean. These guys under contract, Curtis Samuel is interesting to me next year.
Right, and he just has to have the volume to make an impact.
I don't want to be, just
John. If you were in a dynasty league, would you rather have John Ross or Curtis Samuel?
Curtis Samuel.
See, I would take John Ross.
Yeah, I would only want John Ross so I can trade him for Curtis Samuel plus because of the perceived value.
I love it.
Of John Ross.
All right, I think the most impressive rookie of this class this year is the next guy that went it with the 30th pick in the second round out of USC, Juju Smith-Schuster. If Jason were here, he would say A Star is Born. And he had a consistency rank of 22. He had almost 1,000 yards, 917 and 7 on 80 targets, 58 receptions. He had 14% great games, 43% good games, and showed the acumen as an NFL wide receiver and the kind of promise you look back 2 years ago, he was a projected number 1 pick in the NFL draft. So this is not a player that it shouldn't be a surprise that with the right level of focus, the right quarterback, the right offense, we got what we got out of Juju.
He's finally bucking the trend for USC wide receivers. Maybe we finally get a good one here.
Hey, Nelson Aguilar came around.
Yes,
I think he's a good receiver.
Yes, but generally speaking,
sure.
It's not gone well.
Not a guarantee.
It's not gone well for USC wide receivers at the pro level. For Juju Smith-Schuster, 2 games without Antonio Brown. Average 8.5 targets, 7.5 receptions, 109 yards, and a touchdown. And that does not include the game against the Patriots where Brown went out and Juju absolutely smashed it.
But isn't that's a promising stat?
Yes.
And isn't that, though, the built-in cap for him is you need to be in a position where he can have that kind of opportunity?
And that's why I think Juju will be overdrafted.
You do?
Yes.
Now, I think he established himself firmly ahead of Martavis.
But
and any promise of Martavis.
Martavis is not going to go anywhere, though. Martavis Bryant is under contract for $705,000. You're not going to get rid of a player with that talent for that cheap. You're not going to bring him back in 2 years, but he will be on the field. So I think that the target cap is limited for Smith-Schuster.
Okay. All right. So you think he'll be overdrafted because he's so exciting?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So exciting to the tune of second best yard after the catch.
Well, it certainly helps when you have a 100-yard reception. I will say that. Or
You're
whatever
telling me.
Whatever that was in Detroit.
Now, I think from a fantasy perspective,
Was that the Colts? I don't remember.
no wideout. Well, I guess in this scoring system, he was just behind. But Cooper Kupp came in at number 26 overall, consistency rank of 28. Now, he was a third-round pick. He busted 40% of the time, was good 40% of the time, had one great week. And overall, a very impressive rookie year for Cooper Kupp, 62 receptions, 5 touchdowns, 95 targets. That's great, 95 targets.
No, Cooper Kupp is extremely intriguing because you can see a clear distinction in his playing time and his productions. He's making movies these days.
He is.
See the pictures. Weeks 1 through 8, 66.8% of snaps, right? Second half of the year, games 9 through 15, that jumps up to 86.4. And in those games, he had 5+ receptions or a touchdown in 6 of 7 games. Once they finally committed to Cooper Kupp, and a little bit of Robert Woods' injury is mixed into those games. But once they went to him being on the field as a full-time receiver, he really started to make things happen.
Do you believe that you see a second-year jump from Cooper Kupp?
Yes.
In PPR leagues?
Yes.
And do you expect them to bring back Sammy Watkins and his 39 receptions on 70 targets?
All this talk of bringing back Sammy Watkins, I think, is baffling to me. Because you can't franchise Sammy Watkins. You cannot pay. You cannot pay him whatever.
You're gonna have to pay him what, $6 million a year?
You're gonna more. Sammy Watkins is going to be looking
he's 24.
For more.
He's 24.
He will be looking for more than that on the open market. And the role that he played for your team, yes, was Sammy Watkins beneficial to the Rams? Absolutely, but not for the price that he is going to receive on the open market. So unless Sammy takes a look in the mirror and says maybe my contract should match my actual production, then he stays with the Rams. But if I'm Sammy, I'm going to go get paid. And I don't think that the Rams are going to offer him that paycheck.
Okay. That's good perspective. All right, the next few wideouts off the board in the NFL draft were Taywan Taylor in Tennessee, Ardarius Stewart in New York, who really didn't do anything this year, Carlos Henderson, who was placed on IR, never had an opportunity, and then Chris Godwin, you brought him up yesterday, and Kenny Golladay.
Yes.
Out of that 5-pack,
so smooth.
do you like Kenny G's future or do you like Chris G's future?
Man, that's a very interesting question because Kenny Golladay,
I think
he has to wait.
Golladay projects to me more as a one than Godwin does.
But Marvin Jones' contract runs the exact same length as Chris Godwin or as Kenny Galladay's. I think Tate's is up a year earlier, but of course Golladay does not play the same role as Golden Tate. So
That's a close one.
It's going to be limited. While I do see a world where the Buccaneers decide to move on from Deshaun Jackson, maybe he loses a step in the next year or two, and then Chris Godwin emerges as the number 2. So long term, that's crazy. I've never thought about it long term, but
I would look for the 6'4", 218 frame.
Yeah,
the flashes we saw from Golladay.
I do not blame you. I wanted to bring up Taywan Taylor just really quick because Corey Davis and Rashard Matthews, those are the only notable wide receivers on that team under contract as of right.
Eric Decker's a free agent. Harry Douglas, free agent.
And what's his Sharp. Tajay Sharp. He's still on the team.
Wow.
But like I said, the only wide receivers of note.
So you just want people to be aware of the Taywan Taylor, 3rd-round pick. He had a couple plays where he flashed. But this is why go with. Do you have any confidence in Taywan Taylor at the depth chart situation?
No, it's very little. When you have a guy, they gave him an opportunity. There was so much buzz about Taywan Taylor that there was one of the and I apologize, can't recall his name right now, but one of the trusted beat reporters for Tennessee came out and said he would not be surprised if Taylor had more receptions than Corey Davis
before the season
started.
because of how he showed in preseason.
In the first 7 games, he was playing 37.5% of the snaps. The final 9 games, 15%.
Yeah.
So they said, enough of you,
Yeah.
Taywan Taylor, but growth
know.
and everything, we'll see. We'll see.
Is there a future for Chad Williams in Arizona? 3rd round pick. For Dede Westbrook, 4th round pick.
Yes, for Dede, certainly.
So to lay it out for the Jacksonville situation, you have Alan Hearns, who is
About to be cut.
probably going to be cut. You have Allen Robinson's a free agent right now. And you have Marquise Lee as a free agent.
Yeah, for people, just the context of Alan Hearns, why I think he will be cut, because he is owed $7 million, and he can be cut for 0 against the cap. That looks
If you
like,
were making $7 million,
like a
Mike, and I
cap
could cut you and it would be 0
You would
against
do
the
it?
cap, I would probably do it.
if you cut me and I bled $7 million.
Now you're just confusing me.
All right.
So Dede Westbrook, Keelan Cole, Allen Robinson. That's who I think the main 3 guys are in Jacksonville.
I can agree with that.
And I wouldn't be surprised if Westbrook has a more significant role than Cole does.
Yes, I can also agree with that. The efficiency of Dede Westbrook was left a lot to be desired. So in his time, he started on the IR, but he came back. He got 51 targets. That put him on a pace for 117. If let's say he was getting the volume that he got last year, that's tied for the 15th most targets at the wide receiver position. But
Dede was 27 for 339 and 1 on 51 targets. Keelan Cole, undrafted, 42 for 748 and 3
Right.
on 81 targets.
big play guy, Keelan Cole. The problem with
The
Dede,
targets were there, though, 81.
that's what I'm saying. But he was, like I said, he would have been on pace for 15th, the most targets at the wide receiver position, but only 25th in receptions and 33rd in yards. So not the kind of numbers that you're hoping for Dede Westbrook. Another year of growth, we'll see. So I still believe.
Is there another
Dede.
name to throw out there?
At the wide receiver position?
Yeah. I'll throw Trent Taylor's name out there. 5th round pick. He had 43 receptions on 60 targets. I think that with what Jimmy Garoppolo is doing there's an opportunity for Trent Taylor to carve out a role in a PPR landscape.
Yeah, there's definitely a role, but I looked up his splits, and he was basically 1 PPR point better with Jimmy Handsome. So there was not a noticeable difference last year.
Sure.
As far I do want to bring up Chad Williams because of how disappointing it was that a 3rd round pick plays 6 games. He's 3 for 31.
That's just called the John Ross treatment.
Oh yes, but here's the deal for Arizona. And while I want Kirk Cousins, just trust me, the pheromones they're peaking right now. Kirk, if you can smell,
Do you want to
me-
make a little pitch?
Oh.
Do you want to make a little pitch to
Remember? Yeah, let's go. Kirk Cousins. This is your number 1 super fan, Mike right here. I'm from the Fantasy Footballers. You probably don't know who I am. But I have a situation, Kirk. My Cardinals. If Larry Fitzgerald retires, you know who's under contract at wide receiver for us?
No, this is not part of the pitch. Don't tell him that.
I'm a desperate man! Chad Williams and J.J. Nelson. That's why this pitch is actually... I'm roundabout in this. Larry Fitzgerald.
Come on back.
No. Larry Fitzgerald. I'm looking at the camera. Larry Fitzgerald, you have an obligation and a duty. You go get Kirk Cousins. You tell him you're going to play another 5 years. I don't care if you're lying to his face. You do what you have to do to get Kirk Cousins here.
All right.
Thank you. But that's the legit situation.
Great. We have nothing to offer you, Kirk. Come to Arizona.
We'll send the first part of that to Kirk and the second
I was
part
going
to
to say,
Larry.
if Peyton Manning said no to Arizona with a in-prime Larry Fitzgerald.
If Larry Fitzgerald does not come back, right now, under contract, your starters for Arizona, Chad Williams and J.J. Nelson. Because John Brown is a free agent. Jerron Brown is a free agent.
All right. Well, thanks for that, Mike.
I'm
That's
just trying to
very
lighten the
comforting.
mood.
So Chad Williams is the number 1 receiver. That's what you're saying.
Yep.
All right, we have to touch on the tight ends. The truth about the tight end rookies. Interesting year. O.J. Howard went first. David Njoku was another of the first-round tight
Yes.
ends, 10 picks later. And then the one that made the biggest impact, Evan Ingram. He was a first-round pick as well.
Yes.
They went 23, 26, 32 in the first round. Evan Ingram was a fifth-ranked tight end. Where do you see the future for Ingram, and where do you see the future for Howard and Njoku? That trifecta of very talented first-round tight ends.
So I talked about this a little bit on the Tight End Truth show, but you were out of office that day, so I want to hear your Evan Ingram take, because Ingram's on my dynasty team. I'm very excited that he is there. But tight ends with over 100 targets this past season, there were 6 of them. The lowest catch rate of those guys was Rob Gronkowski, 65.7% of the targets he caught them, except for Evan Ingram, who caught 55.7% of those passes. Now, he is the first tight end, I say the only tight end, since 1992, besides Jeremy Shockey, a rookie tight end, to receive 100-plus targets. And with Odell Beckham, he was really only about a half target fewer per game. So there wasn't a huge difference. We say, oh, Beckham went down, everything went to Ingram. But with a catch percentage like that, what do you make for Evan Ingram?
I am less concerned with the catch percentage than I am the 115 targets and whether or not that will be what we can expect from him year in and year out. I think he will be a very good fantasy tight end.
So it sounds like you think Ingram will be overdrafted.
I think he probably will be overdrafted. He struggled with drops at times this year. He also was put in a position where he was kind of it. I mean, you didn't have anybody else. They lost Beckham. They lost Marshall. They lost
Shepard
for
the most part.
They lost four receivers in 1 week.
Yeah, something. Oh, yeah.
So let's put it this way: if Evan Ingram came out next year and dropped 60 for 706, we might be seeing kind of the max of what you have there, at least over the next few years until you have another established quarterback in place. So, do I think he'll be overdrafted? Probably. But I mean, look at those targets. David Njoku had literally just about half the targets.
Yes.
60. O.J. Howard had 39 targets. So when you talk about projecting room to be a value, I don't think Evan Ingram can be a value. I think
You're drafting
Howard can be a value.
Possibly.
Howard has the skill, talent, ability, and then you have Cameron Brate, who is he an RFA?
Yes.
So Cameron Brate's a restricted free agent. I can see more. Howard has the ability, like I said, to be a late-round value, to be an undrafted value.
He could be. He's going to be really interesting because he was a hot draft prospect.
6'6", man.
He is
and an
and
athlete.
a beast. He is a
Now
beast.
he can
of a
block.
man.
Evan Ingram can't block. That's why I'm not.
Fair.
You're looking at Evan Ingram saying, he's 60-plus receptions is probably a given for the next 5-6 years.
Final 5 games of O.J. Howard's season, he either had 50 yards or a touchdown, and that's including the injury game.
Yeah.
So the arrow was pointing up for O.J. Howard. It's going to be interesting to see how drafters respond to his final stat line.
Give me your sleeper tight end for next year out of the remaining rookie class: Gerald Everett, Adam Shaheen, Jonnu Smith, George Kittle.
That's my guy.
43 receptions.
That's my guy. Of the rookies, George Kittle is absolutely my sleeper tight end.
Kittles and bits.
Kittles and bits. Here's what I like about George Kittle. I mean, if you want to talk about a shocking athlete, you should check out George Kittle's metrics. They're shocking. I couldn't think of a better superlative, so I went back. Shocking. But here's what I like about George Kittle. He ran a route on 54% of his snaps. David Njoku, 41%. O.J. Howard, 34%. So they sent George Kittle out to catch passes, 43 for 515. I mean, I will absolutely take that as a step in the right direction. Get Jimmy Handsome and George Kittle an off season together, and I think that George Kittle is going to be on my radar for late round tight ends.
What about Ricky Seals-Jones out of Arizona? You just named the depth chart. The wide receivers didn't sound very good, Mike.
Is he even under contract?
Yeah, of course he is.
Is he really?
I believe so. 22 years old, 6'5", 243. Obviously flashed, 3 touchdowns, 16.8 per catch. I'm just throwing him out there.
Oh, look, he is, in fact, under contract for next year. They didn't commit to him.
Well, no, because they committed money to Jermaine Gresham.
Big Gresh.
But I'm just bringing him up.
Yeah.
You're probably a couple years from Jonnu Smith's relevance with Delaney Walker.
Yes.
And Adam Shaheen, I still think he's interesting.
Yes, yeah, I agree that he's
in Chicago, by the way. I'm sure Brooks is over there saying, say the team name for some of these guys.
Yeah, Adam Shaheen is somewhat interesting. And so and let me get your
go ahead.
Your temperature check on Gerald Everett. Los Angeles Rams.
Yeah.
Has Sean McVay as his head coach, and Gerald Everett was his first ever draft pick.
Does that earn him extra snaps?
Oh, it seems like it would mean something for a coach who doesn't have a first-round pick. You already have a tight end to say, okay, I'm going to take Everett with my first pick.
Well, we're not in a foreign land here where having a couple of talented tight ends on the roster. Well, they still probably have Lance Kendricks on the roster too, don't they?
No, not Lance Kendricks. Tyler Higbee.
Sorry. Yeah, Tyler Higbee.
Yeah, he's got a Higbee problem.
Yeah, and I think you're going to see probably, 5 or 6 great plays from Gerald Everett next year. That's about where my temperature is.
Everett needs an exterminator to get rid of his Higbees.
Wow, that's
Judge, I'm going to need a ruling on that one.
It's good.
Yeah!
It's fine.
Now, Brooks, would you say it's good in general or good because it's after the 60-minute mark of the show where no one's listening anyway?
Oh, it's good in general.
Yeah,
Hey.
baby.
He's going to need an exterminator to get rid of his Higbee problem. Mike is doing well. Look, hey, just a reminder, support for today's show comes from Control GX, the first shampoo that gradually reduces gray from Just for Men. You just shampoo it in, you rinse it out, you move on, you use it like a regular shampoo. That's not a complicated instruction manual. If you've never used shampoo before, this will be confusing. But if you've used shampoo, it's pretty easy, and most guys get the results they want in about 2 weeks. Get 25% off Control GX. Use the code FOOTBALLERS at ControlGX.com. That is the code FOOTBALLERS to get 25% off ControlGX.com. Look, I'm going to rest the voice, the pipes. I'm going to be back next week with Mike and Jason.
No promises.
And we'll be talking about this Super Bowl. Hopefully, Jay Grizz doesn't have to run the table back there. Brooks will be back, and it should be fun.
Absolutely.
We've got a lot more coming, and that was exciting to see a trade. We'll talk more, get Jason's thoughts on the Alex Smith trade, and I know he already likes Jamison Crowder a little more than he did before the trade. So, anything else, Mike?
Nope. I've let it all out. The Higbee joke, I think, speaks for itself.
Yeah.
Check out draft.com/ballers if you want to play some way too early basketball. It's really fun. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Join our fantasy football community on jointhefoot.com and follow us on Twitter @TheFFBallers.